I was born a male. I identify as a male. But according to the Stufas lasagna, I'm a family of 4. If this is not the realest thing I've ever read, I don't know what is. I could say the same thing about cheesecakes, you know? You get a cheesecake, it's like that big, and it's like, feed 6 people, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't do that at all. This video brought to you by my YouTube members and patrons. Thank you, guys. How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another subreddit video, and welcome back to r/onejoke, the subreddit dedicated to the one and only conservative joke, which is basically, but I identify as the gender. That's it. That's the joke. It's a whole subreddit for that. Very quickly before we begin, I just wanted to mention that YouTube members and patrons, you guys get an extra video every single week for as low as £1 a month. That equates to about 25p per video. So if that interests you, please do consider joining, as it really helps support the channel. Also, according to my YouTube statistics, a large portion of you guys aren't subscribed. So, you know, maybe do that if you like the video. Don't do it now, wait till the end. But if you like the video, maybe consider subscribing. Let's get into the video, shall we? So can I identify as a couple to get the couple discount? Can I identify as a car to go on the vehicle-only bridge? Sick! I'ma identify as a zombie or vampire then. So this is a classic piece of one joke, which is seeing people identify as humans and going, oh, but can I identify as something that isn't human, that like an inanimate object? It's like, I mean, if you really want to, I can't stop you, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that you don't really want to. And also, you absolutely can identify as a couple to get the couple discount. You just have to buy, you know, 2. If it's a ticket, you have to buy 2 tickets. If it's a meal, you have to buy 2 meal, because that's how the couple discount works. You don't get the couple discount and buy 1 of the item. That's not how that works. So you just have to buy 2.
Our pronouns are they/them. Because we're always together. Look what happens when we separate.
I loved it. I think they're called the Volos twins. They were the people when they first started going viral. I didn't really care for them. You know, they were the people that did the Da Vinci, you know, that meme, right? And I was like, that's fine. I don't hate it, but I'm not super enthused about it. However, they occasionally just pop up on my feed now, and they're like, they just randomly go off on like aggressively pro-trans, like I don't know how to describe it, but they're just great. They're just really great. I still don't really follow them, but when they pop up, I do have a good time. They're great. They're pretty great. They're just like aggressively allies, you know? Let kids choose their gender. I'm a ninja dragon. And there it is. I identify as a thing that isn't human again. The thing that I find frustrating about these kinds of memes, you know, the patronizing and frustrating aspect of these memes is this idea that children can't differentiate reality from fiction, right? A child who likes playing ninjas and dragons is aware of the fact that they aren't a ninja or dragon, right? They are aware of the fact that if they feel like they are a boy, they feel like they are a boy, right? When I was 6 years old, I loved playing video games and I loved playing make-believe games with my friends, but I also was aware of who I was outside of those games. I was aware of the fact that those were games. Children, you know, understanding who they are and feeling, you know, however they feel, be that male, female, non-binary, whatever, they are able to differentiate their make-believe games from that feeling of self, because that feeling of self is an inherently huge part of being human. Children have that. You don't just suddenly develop this feeling of self the minute you turn 18. Children are aware of that. They're able to differentiate their games that they play with who they are as a person. And it's only this like patronizing conservative view that children aren't able to differentiate those things. Like you see this so much in politics. There's so much of this like, oh, we can't let, you know, underage people decide things from themselves. Underage people don't know anything about politics. They don't know anything about gender. They don't know anything about sexuality. They know nothing. But there'll also be the same people that, you know, defend child marriage, you know, something that pretty much exclusively goes on in conservative states and countries. They'll be like, you know, a child can't decide who they are as a person, but I can decide that I want to marry and sleep with them. What? huh? You're seeing this a lot at the moment in the UK with the, as people are calling it, the goon ban, right? Which is a massive wave of censorship across UK internet where you have to supply random companies in America with either photo ID of yourself or photo evidence that you appear older than 18 to view things considered mature. Now, things considered mature isn't just NSFW, right? There's news that's being censorship. News about Ukraine is being censored. Now, in the UK, you can vote at 16 now. You can also sign up for the military at 16. You can sign up for the military for a war that you can't read about. Our politicians have decided that someone who is 16 years old is not mature enough to decide on what content they can and cannot consume. Now, naturally, people who are under 18 are not very happy with this, and VPNs are exploding. Also, naturally, the people making these regulations are all fossils who have no idea what a VPN is. And it was also in a statement that was surprised that young people were aware of a law that was being passed. They literally regard children as stupid and as though they don't understand what they want or who they are. Children aren't stupid. They're not. They might not be mature and they might not be developed and advanced enough. And like, sure, I wouldn't trust a 10-year-old to vote, but they're not stupid. A 10-year-old knows who they are. This is the longest segment in this whole video, but it's something I feel so passionately about because we treat children like they're idiots, but they're not. Made with 100% heterosexual chicken. What if I am vegan and I wanted soul chicken nuggets that are made of a chicken that identifies himself as a salad? Not vegan, by the way. So the statement was meaningless. I mean, it was meaningless regardless, but the chicken identifies as a salad. Do you get it, guys? The chicken, an animal, identifies as an inanimate object. Isn't that just so funny? Isn't that the funniest joke, guys? You've never heard that before, have you? Never once have we heard that joke before. It's definitely not been going on for like over a decade now. The same joke. Never heard it before. Coming out as trans height. I'm 5'8", but from now on, I'll be identifying as 6'8". This is my truth, my reality, and I expect everyone to treat me like I'm 6'8" now. And if you refuse, you're a bigoted piece of shit. They always love doing that. And if you refuse, you're the bigoted one when they go, I identify as something that doesn't make sense. When trans people exist, when a trans man exists, you know, someone who was born and assigned female, you know, assigned female at birth, who, you know, is a man, they are a trans man, they are a man, that's something that is human. Gender, right, as a social identification and presentation is a human-made construct, something that humans have made, something that only appears in the state it appears because of how humans have decided it should, right? And anybody can do that. That's a part of being human. Your height, unfortunately, isn't something that you just change. That's not something that you can feel like you're taller. But the thing is that, I mean, height dysmorphia exists. It really does. People can feel dysphoric about their height. You can get height increasing surgery. There are some people that actually feel so uncomfortable in their height that they would go through something extremely painful that creates lasting pain and problems because of that dysphoria gained from their height, right? These are things that do exist. It's not always linked to gender, but like, people do feel dysphoric about the ways that their bodies are, and height can come into that. You do get people that have the same thing about skin color. Like, that's definitely a contentious subject, you know, race and skin color and that kind of thing. But dysphoria doesn't follow logic like that. Dysphoria doesn't go, well, I'm white, therefore I can't feel dysphoric about my skin color, you know? That's not how that works. People can. But transphobes don't get it. They're like, oh, well, you know, if a man can identify as a woman, then I can identify as something completely unrelated to the conversation. Why? Like, literally no one out there has ever actually said that they identify as an attack helicopter or as a car or as a toaster or as whatever the other things that conservatives always bring up. It's always conservatives. Every single time it's conservatives. It's a straw man. Plain and simple, it's a straw man. What are some of your guys' hot takes? Woke is getting too far. Like, at this
point, you can't even say something without getting cancelled. Like, I'm sorry, but I ain't calling someone a cat or something.
There it is. That's my point. It's exhausting. It's genuinely exhausting. You know, the fact that they've never once met a person that wants to be called a cat. And you know that because their example isn't specific enough. It's not, you know, they say a cat or something, implying that this isn't something they've encountered. It's just something that they've heard, you know? Some podcaster out there said people are identifying as cats and they remember that vaguely. So they're like, people are identifying as cats or something. They have no real example of that. They have no real context. They've never seen someone doing that. They're just parroting it and saying, woke's getting too far, you guys, because someone mentioned that people are, you know, being cats or something. And ignoring the fact that in that podcast, the example of the children identifying as cats and they're putting litter boxes in classrooms was nonsense. It wasn't even true. It's exhausting. It's just this massive straw man character assassination on a whole demographic of people that just want to live their fucking lives without other people just snarkily going, well, I'm not gonna let you identify as what you want to identify. I'm not gonna call you a man like a basic fucking human being because I think that you are less than human and are not worthy of my respect. Cis people, I'll call them by whatever gender they are. But anybody that's trans, no. You don't get my respect. It's like name changes, you know? If a cis person changes their name, everybody goes, yeah, I'll call you by your new name. If a trans person changes their name, suddenly it's too hard to remember. Why? Fucking why? My pronouns are they, them. They, them. I'm doubling your rent. Even if this wasn't a stupid joke, that's not how rent works. You don't charge rent based on how many occupants you have in an apartment. You charge rent based on the apartment size. If a few people want to chip in and contribute to the rent together so that their singular rent is cheaper, that's their right. They're renting an apartment. They're not renting a space based on the amount of people. Someone identifying as they, them, which grammatically is a singular term and has been a singular term for a long time. I probably don't have the pictures anymore and I don't live with my parents anymore, but they have a dictionary from the fucking 1930s that lists they, them as a singular. It's a singular pronoun that can also be used as, you know, plural. But that aside, that's not how rent works. You don't charge rent more based on more people. You charge it based on the rooms and the space. God. As much as I'm sure landlords would love to be able to charge people more based on the amount of people that take up an apartment, right? Landlords would be thrilled at the opportunity to double rent because 2 people have moved in. That's not how that works. Restaurant in Poland. Hell yeah.
What if you got a gay baby identifying as a dog? Do you get it, guys? Do you get it? The baby identifies as a dog, something that isn't human, because they want a baby and they want to take their baby into a cafe and they're a bigot. So they're like, oh, what if I had a funny move to get my baby into this cafe? Isn't that hilarious? Isn't that hilarious, guys? Isn't that so funny? Isn't that so hilarious that their baby identifies as something that isn't human? Isn't that so funny? Every gender can get essayed or R-worded. Absolutely. It's hard to believe some people think only one can. What about Apache attack helicopters? Do you get it, guys? They said the Apache helicopter. They said the thing. They said the thing. Isn't that so funny? Isn't it funny? It's the attack helicopter joke. It's only like 15 years old at this point. Isn't that so funny? I'm losing my goddamn mind. But yeah, the answer is yes. If a person legitimately identified as attack helicopter, which they aren't, but if a person legitimately did that, they could still be essayed or R-worded. They could. That could still happen. So the joke doesn't make sense. It's not like a haha funny, look at me, I owned the libs. Because yeah, it can still happen. That's the point of the post. It can happen to anyone. You haven't proven anything with this. Your joke hasn't done anything. Oh god, I know for a fact that I'm gonna get those comments that are like, oh, you're triggered. And it's like, you know what? At this point, fucking yeah, sure, I'm triggered, but I'm not triggered because you're a bigot. That's a given at this point. I'm triggered because you haven't got any new material in fucking 15 years. 15 years ago, I
was 10 fucking years old, right? As a young teen, you know, a few years later, when I came across these jokes, I thought they were funny, you know, when I was maybe 12, maybe 13 years old, and I had just started getting onto that side of the internet. I thought that these jokes were funny. You know what happened? I fucking grew up. The people making these jokes, adults making these 15-year-old jokes who didn't grow up. Come on, that's the triggering part. Not that you're a bigot. At this point, I don't give a shit, okay? I just want to live my life. It's the fact that you couldn't grow up in 15 years, right? That's the embarrassing part, okay? That's the part that bothers me. The fact that you couldn't get new material or mature as a person in 15 fucking years. It's pathetic. Truly, genuinely pathetic. Just tired of everyone lying to each other, saying there's something they're not. I can't identify as an attack helicopter or boat and it be true. r/onejoke. It's the exact same joke. Is this a new way of deflecting an argument? The transphobes always use the attack helicopter joke and literally nothing else, hence the one joke, because it's the only thing they have. The joke is not transphobic, and he does have a point. He doesn't have a fucking point. The point is that he's saying people are identifying as attack helicopters and they're fucking not. That's not a joke, it's a straw man. It is transphobic. He's saying that a trans man existing is the same as him going, oh, attack helicopter. That's transphobic, not funny. And it's the same joke they've been saying for 15 years. That's not deflecting an argument. It's pointing out that it's a straw man. It's a pointless straw man that is not rooted in anything other than transphobia. He doesn't have a point. The joke is transphobic. It's not even really a joke. That's not deflection. That's going, well, you said the same thing. You said the same thing that proves nothing and means nothing. Good job, buddy. Pronouns, they, them. Agenda, mayhem. And that's where I'm going to end the video, guys. Go spread mayhem. That's it. That's all I've got to say. I'm so exhausted. I think I actually snapped. Oh, God. I can't believe that it's the year 2025. 2025, right? And they still haven't gotten over the fucking attack helicopter jokes. You know, trans people and non-binary and extra genders have existed for basically the extent of the human race. You know, so many cultures around the world have extra genders as a part of their cultures and religions. In some cultures, they're even considered to be spiritual teachers. They're considered to be more spiritual than either singular gender. These things will always exist. They have always existed and they will continue to always exist. The problem is bigots. Bigots won't always exist because they didn't always exist. In these cultures where these extra genders have existed and have been a huge part of those cultures and a huge part of those religions, they didn't have bigots taking the piss out of those extra genders. Those bigots have come from cultures that didn't have them. Those bigots have largely come from religions like Christianity, which arrived and went, no, your religion's wrong. My religion's the only one that matters. They turned up and they rewrote history and they decided that everyone else is wrong and they decided to start spreading bigotry. And that's what the problem is. But it won't last forever, okay? Because trans people, non-binary people, gay people, asexual people, everything, all of those kinds of people, we will always exist. We will always continue to exist. And the longer we exist for, the less right that bigots have to exist. There's only so long you can be bigoted for before you realize, actually, this clearly is a part of the human race, seeing as it's been around forever and continues to be around forever. And people will get rid of bigots. Bigots will go away. And that's the best note I can end this video on. Stay strong, everybody, because you matter. You matter a hell of a lot more than a bigot that says you don't matter. If you would like to support me in making more content like this, then I have a Patreon in the description down below. Equally, you can click that join button on the channel to support me. It helps a lot more than you might realize, but by no means should you feel like you have to. I'm going to keep making content regardless. But a huge, massive special thank you to all of the wonderful YouTube members and patrons that do support me. All of your names are up on screen right now. It genuinely means so much, and it genuinely helps so much. So thank you to everybody that does. And to those of you that do, you get an extra video every single week for as low as £1 a month. So please do consider that, as it genuinely helps support the channel. And if you liked this video, if you enjoyed seeing me snap, then, you know, maybe consider subscribing. I don't tend to say that in my videos, but it helps. It helps a lot. So yeah, other than that, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Peace out.